We are going to call the meeting for Akron City Council to order. At this time, we're going to ask the clerk to read the roll.
Baylor.
Aye.
Connor.
Aye.
Freeman. Fusco. I can see you. I think you might be muted.
This is acting up at the moment. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Aye.
Kamer.
Aye.
Lombardo.
Aye.
McKittrick.
Aye.
Malik.
Aye.
Neal.
Aye.
Amobian.
Aye.
Samples.
Aye.
Somerville.
Aye.
Swirsky. All members are present except for Freeman and Swirsky.
Thank you so much. At this time, we're going to be led in prayer by Pastor Lori Porter. Immediately following our prayer, going to ask if we can be led in the Pledge of Allegiance by Councilwoman Baylor.
Thank you. Father, we just thank you for this city council. We thank you for each of its members and for our councilwoman who is leading this charge on tonight. We thank you for our mayor. We thank you for our police chief and for all of those in leadership. I pray for them tonight, Father, first of all, just for them. I just want to pray for them. I want to pray for them and I want to pray for their families. We have no idea what some of them may be experiencing or going through, but I pray for them that you would continue to encourage them and strengthen them as they continue to lead the charge for many different areas of our city. We're reminded that your word tells us to pray for those in leadership, that we might have a peaceful and quiet life. And so I pray for them that as they make decisions on tonight, that your perfect will would be done. I pray that if any of them are feeling stressed or weary, that you would encourage them and inspire them. I pray that you be glorified through everything that they do tonight. We trust you most of all, but we trust you to lead and guide them. And we thank you for what you're doing, done, and will do on behalf of our city and this council. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much, Pastor Porter. At this time, the minutes from our previously held meeting have been provided to all council members. Are there any corrections or additions at this time? If not, if we can get a motion to approve by Councilman Malik.
So moved.
And a second by Councilman Fusco.
Second.
Roll call.
Baylor.
Aye.
Connor.
Aye.
Freeman.
Aye.
Fusco.
Aye.
Kamer.
Aye.
Lombardo.
Aye.
McKittrick.
Aye.
Malik.
Aye.
Neal.
Aye.
Amobian.
Aye.
Samples.
Aye.
Somerville.
Aye.
The minutes pass 12-0.
Thank you. Before you, you have the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve? Councilman Kamer?
Thanks, President Somerville. I will make that motion.
So we have a motion on the floor. Councilman McKittrick, can you second that motion?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Roll call.
Baylor.
Aye.
Connor.
Aye.
Freeman.
Aye.
Fusco.
Aye.
Kamer.
Aye.
Lombardo.
Aye.
McKittrick.
Aye.
Malik.
Aye.
Neal.
Aye.
Amobian,
Aye.
Samples,
Aye.
Somerville.
Aye.
The consent agenda passes 12-0.
Thank you. We do have one public hearing scheduled for this evening, and clerk will read in item number 1.
Notice is hereby given that the following public hearing will be held by the Council of the City of Akron on Monday, November 23rd, 2020, during the council meeting at 7 p.m. Ordinance authorizing a conditional use to construct an oversized accessory structure carriage house with living space for parents at 2250 Lancaster Road.
Mr. Anthony?
Yes, thank you, Madam President, members of council. Timothy and Emily Marks are requesting permission to construct a detached garage or carriage house with a 3-car garage and single-family living area above the garage to a height of 30 feet within the backyard of this property. The proposed carriage house would roughly measure 42.5 feet in length by 30 feet in width. The structure will be sited behind the dwelling at the end of the existing driveway. It will be situated at a minimum of 10 feet east of the side yard property line conforming to setbacks. The existing accessory structure on the property would be demolished and removed. Exterior construction materials would consist of cedar siding and roof shingles that will match the house. The gable roof will also have dormers on the 2 front elevations, on the front elevation also to match the style of the house. Windows are depicted on all 4 sides. The proposed carriage house will be utilized for vehicle and residential storage and as a seasonal living space for the parents of the applicant. The petitioners have been made aware and have agreed that the dwelling unit is not to be used as rental space. In the future, the space could become a place for the petitioner's parents to live full-time. The design of the carriage house is intended to complement the character of the existing house and would be set near an undeveloped portion of the neighboring lot. The height of the structure would not be out of scale with the large 2-story primary dwelling at Lancaster Road. This property is well maintained and this proposal will only enhance the property and neighborhood. The Office of Integrated Development and Planning staff recommend approval subject to conditions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Antonucci. I do believe the petitioner, Emily Marks, is online with us. Emily, can you hear us?
Yep.
Perfect. At this time, I'm just going to ask that you be sworn in by a member of our law department.
Ms. Marks, if you could please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're going to give is the truth? If so, please say I do.
I do.
Thanks.
Okay. Mrs. Marks, do you have any comments regarding your application?
No, I don't have anything additional to add. If anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you so much. Councilman Fusco?
Yes, I'd like to poll the committee for a favorable report with suspension of the rules.
Any objections on suspension of the rules? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Yes, thank you. Samples,
Aye.
Kamer,
Aye.
Baylor,
Aye.
Swirsky. The report of the committee is favorable and we're asking for suspension of the rules.
The rules have been suspended.
Yes, thank you. The planning department, planning commission, all recommended approval. I know Ward Council Representative Malik is in favor of this proposal. It will enhance the neighborhood with a significant investment. We're asking for passage this evening.
Thank you so much. The rules have been suspended and the committee's report is favorable. Roll call.
Baylor,
Aye.
Connor,
Aye.
Freeman,
Aye.
Fusco,
Aye.
Kamer,
Aye.
Lombardo,
Aye.
McKittrick,
Aye.
Malik,
Aye.
Neal,
Aye.
Amobian,
Aye.
Samples,
Aye.
Somerville.
Aye.
This ordinance passes 12-0.
Councilman Fusco, what's your pleasure on the rest of the agenda?
I would like to request time on 2 through and including number 5. And then file item number 6. This is the petition that we had just voted on Lancaster. And then time on the balance of the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. Time will be granted. Before we move into the rest of our old business, we do have Mayor Horgan online with us, who's going to bring forth some remarks.
Well, good evening. Thanks for having me on. I know with a lot of what's going on lately, sometimes we kind of lose sight of, I think, a lot of the good that's going on in the community, and it's maybe gets drowned out. I know at least 4 or 5, I think 2 Saturdays ago, Zion Temple and Greater Bethel combined to pass out 500 baskets of food. Just this past Saturday, the Westside Professionals set up another distribution of food at Bookville High School. Tonight was the Joy Park Seniors. Tomorrow is the Joy Park Federation. Those are the ones that we just know about. I know there are countless others of people who are doing some wonderful things for others. I know at this time, especially, Ohio saw 11,000 new cases of COVID just this past one day, which is about 7 times the average of what it has been over the last couple of months. I know there's a lot out there that kind of gives us pause to think, is there any good news? Yes, there is. And I wanted to make sure you heard just some of those small examples of those people who are reaching out and doing all they can, at almost every opportunity. It's sometimes even a detriment to themselves to make sure that people have a joyous holiday. And I think everything is a little bit different this year in how we celebrate. And hopefully that's in a safe way. And so I wanted to make sure you heard that from me, and that I hope and pray that you and your family stay safe this coming Thanksgiving and through December too. So thank you very much. I appreciate your time and your service to the city. And I know the residents do too. So thanks again and have a great holiday.
Thank you so much, Mayor Horgan. We'll continue with our old business, budget and finance. Councilman Freeman.
The committee has voted for an adverse report.
The committee's report is adverse. All in favor of an adverse report, roll call.
Baylor.
Aye.
Connor.
Aye.
Freeman.
Aye.
Fusco.
Aye.
Hamer.
Aye.
Lombardo.
Aye.
McKittrick.
Aye.
Malik.
Aye.
Neal.
Nay.
Amobian.
Nay.
Samples.
Nay.
Somerville.
Aye.
Question.
Councilman Neal.
Since the question wasn't called before the vote, I have some concern in regards to I need to know, especially since we have 5 new council members, why the adverse report on a tool that would educate council on how to utilize the budget. I'm concerned because we would not send our police out to do their job without proper training. We would not send them out without proper tools. But yet we vote not to have a budget tool that not only educates us, but gives us the ability to engage our citizens. I'm concerned. What courses have any members taken to understand even not just a budget tool, but the city's budget at all? I'm concerned because this question was raised when we met back in January. There's been no caucus, no training on the budget. Our most highly regarded responsibility as council members. And I've said, it's not this, we don't have to do this tool, but we need a tool. And the fact that to have council members vote no, who have no training on the budget whatsoever, who think that open checkbook, a register, is a budgeting tool is very concerning. And so I challenge those who voted no to come back with a tool that we can use as council.
Thank you, Councilman Neal. Councilman Malik?
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to briefly say that, and I shared this with Mr. Neal personally, I think a tool, and I said this, I think, in our previous discussions about this ordinance, I think a tool is not useful unless there's a strategy or plan for how we're going to use that tool. And, while Mr. Neal may have plans for how to use that tool, I think the broader question is how council wants to engage with the public and each of our residents in our wards about the budget. And I think that council has a responsibility, to Mr. Neal's point, to have shared priorities, but the shared priorities aren't priorities of just one member. And so I think it's totally appropriate. I think we would agree that we ought to have some kind of day that we set aside just to talk about the budget. And if we can do that in December, that'd be great. If we can do that in January, that'd be great, so that we can all form our own goals or bring our own goals to the table and see if there are shared goals, right? But that process isn't just one person. It requires all 13 of us. And I think that I can venture to speak for the other 4 new members of council when I say that we all have our thoughts and opinions that we're going to bring to the process. But shared values and shared goals require shared discussion. And I think that should come next month or in January before the budget process begins.
Madam President?
Thank you so much, Councilman Malik. At this time, before
Madam
you
President?
speak, Councilman Neal, 1 second. I just want to make sure that there's no other council members that have a comment at this time, okay? Are there any other council members that have any questions or comments at this time? Councilman Lombardo.
Thank you, Madam President. I just believe that the citizens of Akron have more pressing issues that they're concerned about. And for instance, whether we're talking vacant houses or all the nuisance calls that we get, concerning, high grass or junk vehicles. Of course, speeding is in there too. But again, I just think there's more pressing issues that, we need to, serve them with. Our finance department does a beautiful job, and I just don't really want to add, more chefs in the kitchen. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Lombardo. Is there any other council members who haven't had the opportunity to speak that wish to bring forth comments? Seeing none, Councilman Neal. Oh, actually, Councilwoman Mobian, I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, I just raised my hand, Madam President, so you didn't overlook me. Let me just say that the reason I support this is that everything we do is undergirded by how we prioritize our finances. There's no way we're going to know whether we have funds to cut high grass or tear down houses that are abandoned or do anything else unless we understand the budget that we oversee. So all of those things are predicated on us understanding how we move something from one line item to another and how we do the business of the city. And if as council members, we don't understand that, then how can we go out and explain how we prioritize our budget to the citizens of Akron? So I just want to make that comment that is what I like about the fact that we will have an opportunity to fully understand what we are approving, and we will be approving it the first quarter of the year of 2021, as we do every year. But the reality is that there are times that we approve things and pass things that we don't know how we're going to finance, and the prioritization of those things will come by us, the council members. It's the administration that would tell us what they like to do. Then we have to approve the budget that they submit to us and then ask questions about it based on the priorities that we can identify for the citizens of Akron. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Councilwoman Mobian. Councilman Neal?
Yes, ma'am. I just want to speak, and I want to share with Councilman Malik. The plan, the process, that's called budget hearings. It happens every year. It's required by our charter. We are supposed to go into that, sir, with a plan. This was brought up back in January, and we said we were going to address it beforehand, and we didn't. That's why this council, the only goal and objective, every department within the city comes before us with goals and objectives. The only goal and objective of this council, where we called a special meeting during the COVID crisis, was to buy new chairs for council chambers. That's unacceptable. We have to understand the budget process. And sir, that takes place during the budget hearings. We have a budget and finance committee. So I charge this council, as we are looking at reimagining public safety and vetting the police department, we need to vet ourselves on how we conduct our business. The budget is our highest responsibility. And it is unconscionable for us not to understand the budget first off, and then to have a tool that allows us to forecast for the future and engage our citizens. So again, it doesn't have to be the balancing act, but we need a budgeting tool. And trust me, open checkbook is not a balancing tool. This council needs to understand its highest responsibility, and that is the budget. So those who voted against it, please, council members that have been on council for a while, we voted to put our budget online. For whatever reason, find another tool, but we need a tool. For my new colleagues on council, come with a better way. But we cannot go into this new budget season without understanding the budget and having a way to engage our citizens. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilman Neal. Are there any other comments or questions coming at this time as it relates to this issue? Just want to say, I do want to kind of echo what Councilman Malik said. I think that it is important that council has a plan. A tool is no good if there's no one on the other end of that tool to respond to questions and input from the community. And we need to have a plan. We heard from our state reps who use a tool, and they've been using a tool out in the community to educate and engage the public. I think we too need to look at the existing tools that we have and how we can better utilize those tools to educate and engage the public as it relates to our budget. We'll now move into our new legislation.
Item number 1, offered by Councilwoman Samples and Councilman Swirsky. Ordinance amending and/or supplementing Title III, Chapter 38, Unlawful Discrimination, Section 38.01, Definitions of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Akron, and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Freeman.
Yes, the committee met today, and we're asking that this be referred for a week. I did want to, even though we're referring this item, to see if Ms. Samples would like to address this ordinance at this time.
Thank you, Councilman Freeman. Just briefly, I'm just asking my council members to read legislation before next week. And if they have any questions prior to that, please email me or the law department. Again, as I said earlier this afternoon, there are 7 other states that have passed this legislation so far. I have spoken with Brantley from the commission, the Civil Rights Commission, and they're going to be offering their own remarks as well. So this gives them time to answer, and hopefully have Councilman Swirsky here as well next week. That's all. Thanks.
So we do ask that this be referred to next week's agenda.
Thank you so much. This item will be referred.
Item number 2, offered by Freeman. Ordinance amending and/or supplementing various sections of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Akron relating to residential and business alarms, repealing Title 11, Chapter 111, Regulations governing specific businesses, Section 111.381, Alarm Users License of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Akron, and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Freeman.
Yes, we met today and had a good discussion about this piece of legislation. Basically, we're just cleaning up our code of ordinances to comply with some changes we made a few years ago. And with that, we ask it to be placed on the consent agenda.
Thank you. This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 3, offered by Samples and Kamer, ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service or his designee to apply for and, if awarded, enter into a grant agreement or agreements with the Federal Emergency Management Agency and Ohio Emergency Management Agency for funding through the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program to acquire properties experiencing repetitive loss due to flooding, authorizing expenditure of funds consistent with the program, designating the project manager responsible for implementing the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program, and declaring an emergency.
Councilwoman Samples.
Thank you, Madam President. The committee's report is favorable, and we are asking for suspension of the rules.
Any objections on suspension of the rules? Seeing and hearing none, the rules are suspended.
Thank you. This project has been in the works for some time now. Over in Councilman Kamer's ward, so I'll yield to him if he has any remarks that he'd like to add. And okay, that's all.
Okay, thank you so much. The rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. Roll call.
Baylor.
Aye.
Connor.
Aye.
Freeman.
Aye.
Fusco. Kamer.
Aye.
Lombardo.
Aye.
McKittrick.
Aye.
Malik.
Aye.
Neal.
Aye.
Amobian.
Aye.
Samples.
Aye.
Somerville.
Aye.
This ordinance passes 12-0.
We'll now move to the portion of our meeting that we refer to as our public comment period. At this time, clerk will read in comments received for this evening.
This is from Joanna Lybrook. Hi, I have been a longtime resident of Akron, and the Valley is my favorite place in this wonderful city. It truly breaks my heart that you would even consider demolishing the beautiful land that is our home. Please, please, please reconsider this proposal and help save Akron's last wild green space. Our world is already overcome with housing developments, and our environment is taking a huge hit because of this. Save this beautiful area for many more generations to come, please. This is from Bill Lagodi. The public needs to stand up and say enough is enough. How long before the city council is advocating knocking down citizens' doors for their own agendas? We are on a very slippery slope, and our very basic freedoms are under attack every day. I hope the public remembers who voted for this ridiculousness and acts appropriately next election. This is from Sydney Henderson. Hi, I feel passing this, the outcome will be for the community to simply rebel. As we would like for this to be an educating experience, I think it will not. I'm worried for the community and officer safety. This is from Mallory Foran. Good morning. I am writing to express my strong opposition to the sale of 43 acres between Tice and Hardy Roads to developers. On August 3rd, 2020, the City of Akron issued a call for proposals from developers of upscale single-family homes, setting a discounted purchase price for the land and offering a 15-year residential tax abatement to future residents. This decision is concerning for a number of reasons. The property tax abatement takes away the financial support sorely needed for Akron schools and for some of Akron's best features, including our comprehensive library system, award-winning Akron Zoo, and services for citizens with disabilities. The process does not include any citizen input. It ignores the fact that Akron and Cuyahoga Falls have committed to a joint master planning process for the Merriman Valley slated to start in January of 2021. The sale should be put on hold until this committee is formed and citizens are included to provide input. The Cuyahoga Valley National Park is one of Akron's greatest assets. Crane's Cleveland Business reported that the visitors spent $36.8 million in communities surrounding the park. The Tice property has the potential to enhance the recreation and tourism-based backbone of the Merriman Valley by increasing the green space footprint. Sherilyn Burns, the president of the Greater Akron Audubon Society, has noted the potential for long-term environmental damage to the Cuyahoga Valley and Cuyahoga River if this wooded land is cleared and developed. It has been suggested by the Akron City Council and the Office of Planning and Development that developing this land will offer future payoffs and lure people in from the suburbs. Why not capitalize on what lures the most suburbanites into our area already? The amazing array of natural resources and the prestige of the Cuyahoga Valley National Park. As a local resident, I am urging you to think creatively, sustainably, and thoughtfully about how this land should be used. Once it is mowed down and the houses are built, we will never have the opportunity to go back. Please reject the proposal submitted by housing developers for the Tice Road acreage and accept the offer of the Western Reserve Land Conservancy for its preservation and conservation. Thank you for your time. This is from Carla Tamino. I agree with the facts that there are viruses in this season that could be harmful to us. I strongly disagree that it is the responsibility of the Akron Mayor Health Department and APD to impose their restrictions in my private home with my private guests. We as humans need community to survive and be healthy physically, emotionally, spiritually, and mentally. Please don't try to control our beloved city of Akron in this way. Don't you have enough to take care of keeping those vulnerable safe, fed, and protected from criminal activity? Akron married mom of 6, grandmother of 9, friendly neighbor, homeowner, and churchgoer. This is from Cindy Duncan. This is the United States of America, not communist China or Russia. We the people are guaranteed the right of assembly in the Constitution of the United States. You have massively overreached, and I look forward to all of the lawsuits that will come your way. This will tax your police department, which is already dealing with much crime. Civil disobedience is in order. This is from Amber Mendit. I am writing to you today because I have been witnessing a failure to do what the people want and a failure to uphold the Constitution of our United States. We the people do not want to be forced to have only 6 people in our own home. We the people don't want to be forced to wear masks. We the people are sick of it. If you are at risk or feel fearful, stay home, wear a mask. Take the CDC warning, that's okay for you. But me, just like most, are done and will not be being forced to stay home, to wear masks, to lock down and ruin our jobs and business any longer. This is the land of the free because of the brave. And to be brave, you have to stand up and not sit down and let your rights get thrown out the window. So here we are standing up. This is from Dawn Kanda. We are writing to you to express our strong opposition to the sale of the 43 acres between Tice and Hardy Roads to developers. My husband and I may be unique in that we are property owners in both Akron and Peninsula, Ohio. We have rental property at 693 Hazel Street, Akron, and reside at 6421 Riverview Road, Peninsula. As you well know, the land now comprising the Cuyahoga Valley National Park would be nothing but housing developments between Akron and Cleveland if it weren't for our government, conservation officials, and many citizens working to obtain this land for recreational use. The National Park is one of Akron's greatest assets, bringing in millions of dollars spent by visitors to and from around the area of the park. This property has the potential to enhance recreation and tourism in the Merriman Valley by increasing the green space footprint. Living in Peninsula, we have seen residential development increase significantly over the last 15 years. Of particular concern is wastewater management and runoff. In addition, we are concerned for potential long-term environmental damage to the national park and the Cuyahoga River if this wooded land is cleared and developed. We disagree with the proposal of a 15-year residential tax abatement to future residents if a housing development were to go in this area. Akron schools, as well as the library, zoo, and services for citizens with disabilities would lose financial support by this proposal. As local residents and property owners in Akron, we urge you to think creatively, sustainably, and thoughtfully about how this land should be used and accept the offer of the Western Reserve Land Conservancy for its preservation and conservation. This is from Bonnie Horowitz. Dear Mayor Horrigan, I have been a fan of yours for many years and never took the time to contact you before now. I will be brief. I oppose the sale of the property between Tice Road and Hardy Road to private developers. I support the sale of this property to the Western Reserve Land Conservancy, along with the development of a master plan for the protection and conservation of the southern end of the Cuyahoga Valley. This is Akron's last and largest unsold green space. Although I know you are doing what you think is best for Akron in the long run and have a vision of what this development will mean in terms of taxes for the city, I ask you to think even bigger. Think of those great conservationists who were ahead of you, like Roosevelt and Seiberling, and how they went against the tide and stood up for green spaces and conservation. They have left us a great legacy. You have a chance to also do that. This is from Abe Horsfall. Hello, I would like to formally voice my deep concern and disapproval of the legislation regarding family gatherings limited to 6 guests for the next 30 days. This is wrong and directly opposes the Constitution and Bill of Rights, the First and Fourth Amendment specifically. This legislation should be overturned immediately. Each council member that voted for this should be ashamed of themselves. I would strongly suggest you each take pause to consider the role of government and the precedent of overreaching this suggests. What's equally as concerning is how this was passed in one day without hearing the public's input. That is repulsive. The job of government is to uphold the rights and liberties of the people and to represent the people. It is hard to do that when when the vote takes place before hearing from the people after only giving the people 6 hours to learn and comment on the legislation, don't you think? So I ask you, was the goal to actually represent the people? From the people's view, the answer is an obvious no, which is deeply troubling. You claim this is about education, yet nothing about this is informative. This legislation penalizes people exercising one of their most basic rights and puts neighbors against one another. What happened to United We Stand? This is not leadership. It is manipulative and divisive. This is a gross overreach of government that must not be upheld nor allowed to set a precedent. Strongly urge, recommend, encourage, educate via radio, newspaper, and notes on utility bills, but I beg you, do not cross the sacred line of civilians' homes. Do not turn neighbors against one another when we ought to be reflecting and sharing in Thanksgiving with one another. Do not let this legislation stand. This is from Ashley Mullen. We have enough development in this area. As we keep building in the valley, you are taking away what people like about this area. Akron residents need the valley. The valley with its towpaths and beautiful nature spaces is one of the few gems of Akron. Stop taking away the areas where its residents can get peace of mind by connecting to nature. Akron needs the valley, not new high-rises, upscale homes, and the dollar stores in this area. There are plenty of abandoned homes in neighborhoods that the city should consider tearing down and building new constructions to help improve these areas. Instead of taking away from the valley, focus on neighborhoods that could use your focus. Thank you for your time. This is from R. Rose. I would like to ask that the Akron City Council and Mayor Horgan please take into consideration what the people want regarding the 120 acres of the valley that are being pursued for 2 large developments. Please consider the impact that has on our green space. This Tice development would be destroying the beautiful area that is truly enjoyed by residents and visitors to Cuyahoga Valley. It is my understanding that the park offered to purchase this land at the asking price, but the city of Akron is preferring to make more money off big developers. Does it always have to be about money and greed? Can't some of you stand up for what is important to people? Surely you've heard so many people are pleading with you to let the park have it. We need more green space, especially in times like these. Please do not allow these developers to ruin this part of our land, please. This is from Bryce Grimm. I want the City Council to say no to developing the Tice Road property and rezoning Riverwoods. Leave them alone, please. Your fellow citizen. This is from Jay Fazick. Mayor Horgan, please do not build a housing allotment on this tract of land in the valley. I live in Kenmore and there are empty lots all over, just like there are empty lots all over the city. Granted, many people do not want to live in Kenmore, Goodyear Heights, South Akron, etc., but can we really afford to build more roads, sewers, water lines, etc.? We have roads all over the city with no houses on them. Let's come up with a way to build houses on roads we already have before we build new roads for new houses. Thanks. This is from Merrick and Abby Potter. Hello, thank you for your service to Akron. You are in our prayers as you lead with the authority entrusted to you. This is a difficult season and one that tests leaders daily. We are disheartened by the recent order passed on November 16, 2020 that restricts private gatherings. We will comply out of respectful submission to the authority over us, and we will seek to do so in an honorable way. We do believe the order was passed with the health of Akron residents in mind. However, it is disappointing that such an order seeks to financially punish those who choose to disregard it, even if their reasoning lies in their belief in the authority of the Constitution, specifically the First and Fourth Amendments. Use valuable police resources to enforce cooperation and conceivably allow officers to enter citizens' home without warrants. Encourage residents to report the supposed poor behavior of their neighbors, potentially harming the peace and community they desire with others, and monitor and mandate the behaviors of a person's activities in his private residence. In listening to the 11/16/20 committee meeting, a comment was made that many Akron residents were making foolish decisions after much education had been offered, and thus this order had to be passed. We disagree. Many Akron residents are being careful in their interactions with others and yet believe in the importance of gathering with others to care for their family's emotional, mental, and spiritual well-being. It is crucial for their well-being that they be permitted to choose whom they can gather with and in what format. It is crucial that Akron residents be allowed to choose how to safely celebrate Thanksgiving together. Yes, some behaviors may be considered irresponsible in this season. Example, a house party of 100 people with no masks or social distancing. But many gatherings are simply people trying to cope with a trying season and care for others through it. In addition, we are very disappointed in the manner in which this order was passed. After the mayor's press release, only a few hours were given for Akron residents to contact City Council and leave comments to be read in the public forum. Council members had little time to engage with their constituents. Many citizens were presumably entirely unaware of what was happening that day. It is disheartening that such a decision would be made with such little regard to the opinions and consent of the governed. We urge you to repeal this order immediately and allow Akron residents to be free to make their own wise decisions according to their personal convictions and rights, not according to government coercion. Thank you, and may God grant you wisdom to lead us well. This is from Leisha Alexander. I encourage the board and mayor to retain these 43 acres as green space so all Northeast Ohioans can continue to enjoy the beauty of this natural gift. Whenever we have guests from out of town, we always show off the Cuyahoga Valley. They are amazed and envious of what we have in our backyard. We certainly can find another area to plant more housing, transfer an eyesore of concrete to a green space with a divided avenue, trees, parks, and bike lanes. This is from Chris Roman. I am concerned about the proposed rezoning change for River Woods Golf Course to allow for 197 new housing units. This developer trying to squeeze more housing units into a hazardous and totally inappropriate area of the city. Read the news. States all across the Midwest are currently experiencing unprecedented floods. Predictions are that flooding will be more frequent and more severe. There are claims about the engineering feats which will be accomplished to prevent future disaster on the golf course property. Maybe they can engineer for the past, but look into the future. Can you really approve 197 new residential townhome units right next to the already flood-prone Cuyahoga River? To propose putting 400 more people in this very vulnerable spot is unconscionable. Imagine 400 unsuspecting, innocent sitting ducks. When the next flood comes, and it will, these new residents, perhaps an elderly couple or a divorced mom with small children, will be affected. They will be trapped in their homes without power, unable to leave because the road is flooded. Or worse, someone is out in the area, unable to get home to their loved ones because the roads are closed. Anyone who moves into this development will be at risk. Please do not approve the rezoning of this property to allow for more housing units in the Merriman Valley. Thank you for your time and consideration. This is from Nick McCunis. Hello, although I am not an Akron resident, I do own rental property within Akron. After seeing the legislation that was passed on November 16th, 2020, I have to speak my mind on this as well as other issues. First and foremost, I strongly feel it is a violation of the First, Fourth, and Ninth Amendment. Secondly, I feel it is discriminatory because it can be interpreted to say if you have people over, it may cost you $250 if you get caught. For many people in Akron, $250 is not a deterrent. For others, $250 may be the difference between eating and not eating. So to me, it says if you can afford the fine, do what you want. But if you're low income, you better follow the rule. Many residents are hanging on by a string, both financially and mentally. This time of year causes a severe increase in depression for many reasons. Some of these people depend on having friends and family together for their mental well-being. Denying them this could lead to a rise in self-inflicted injuries and/or suicide. The things I have already witnessed on social media indicates that the majority of Akron residents will either disregard this legislature or simply hold the event at other families' residences outside of Akron. I also feel this is a terrible position to put the law enforcement officials in. I am sure the residents and property owners of Akron would much rather have the police protecting us from real crime. Is it fair to assume that every Akron health official will be available to respond to calls 7 days a week, including Thanksgiving? Although I understand the seriousness of COVID-19, in the past 9 months, I have had numerous people close to me die from non-COVID illnesses and injuries. Bearing this in mind, I have to think that skipping or postponing Thanksgiving would result in many people not spending time with loved ones that may not be here 30 days from now, assuming this doesn't get extended, and I bet it will. So imagine canceling the already planned and paid for Thanksgiving, resulting in never again seeing grandma, grandpa, mom, dad, son, daughter, grandson, or granddaughter. In closing, I need to make a statement on a totally unrelated issue. As a landlord of an Akron property, I am not allowed to pursue an eviction for unpaid rent. However, the City of Akron Public Utilities is still shutting off people's water service for non-payment. They are also still charging the ridiculous rate that resulted from the county ignoring the EPA orders and mandates. So if my tenant doesn't pay me, that's fine, but if they don't pay you, look out. Furthermore, when I do finally get my house back, I have to pay the water bill they incurred. Please don't tell me to seek a civil suit because they obviously don't have any money or they would be paying rent and utilities. This is from Megan Lugo. Dear Mayor Horrigan, I hope this email finds you well. My name is Megan Lugo. I recently moved to Akron this year from San Antonio, Texas. I must admit, that many of our friends and family were surprised at how much we loved Akron. As a Californian with myself, my family members' impression of Akron and the Cuyahoga Valley in general were effectively, wasn't that the place where the river caught on fire? As such, we often find ourselves dispelling the idea that Akron is a Rust Belt town that has little to offer besides pollution and bygone days of prosperity. We rave about the walkability of our neighborhood, Highland Square. We made a slideshow to share with our family of our trips to the Cuyahoga Valley National Park and of our participation in the Metro Park's fall hiking spree. When my uncle, who lives in Santa Barbara, said he was shocked to see the Cuyahoga Valley on a New York Times list of best places in the country to enjoy fall foliage, we sent him countless pictures of the beautiful parks around us. However, it is dismaying to drive through Akron and the surrounding communities and see how little care is being taken to managing development thoughtfully. I am not opposed to practical ways of providing housing to people who wish to move to Akron, as we did. I nevertheless find it difficult to believe that we always have to cave to developers and their desires for lining their pockets over the voices of citizens who theoretically own public lands. It is therefore my opinion that Akron and the communities in Summit County should do more to thoughtfully develop our city. We have neighborhoods that have been forgotten and left in disarray. The Perkins Center lot, which I drive by every single morning, remains untouched and vacant. Why does the city choose to allow callous and lazy developers raise our few remaining green spaces, which can be enjoyed by all for the purpose of putting up soulless cookie cutter subdivisions? If it seems that I am editorializing or pontificating, I apologize, but I do sincerely feel that developers do far more harm than good to any community, and that they ultimately are more concerned with their financial bottom line than actually creating a community that is sustainable in all sense of the word. Moreover, I can find Polt homes or Ryan homes anywhere in the country. They are a dime a dozen. Those homes, if we would even call such abominations of architecture, urban planning, and design homes, will not bring people to Akron. Our natural resources, the beauty of our parks, and the thoughtfulness of the design of our neighborhoods is what brings people to Akron and keeps them here. Please be judicious in how you proceed with Merriman Valley and the city at large. I would sincerely rue the day that it becomes a concrete wasteland in the hopes of drawing people in who will ultimately never come. This is from Diane Papes. To all who care and are concerned, I already sent a letter to the mayor of Akron, and fortunately he has not acknowledged the letter in any way. I questioned his motives, his Democratic affiliation, and concern about the environment, and also asked if he was caving into the same kind of behaviors that we have seen the President of the U.S. exhibit in the last 4 years. No response. Does he care? Is he invested in the city? Is he an environmentalist, or is he just another politician? Only he knows the truth in all of that. Good luck. And there are 11 voicemails that I will play.
My name is George Alaski. I'm a concerned citizen about the recent ordinance that the mayor of Akron has pushed through regarding private property, allowing only 6 people on private property. I'm not sure if he's aware, but that is unconstitutional, and I believe if it's not retracted, it will be, it'll end up in court. So I'm a little disgusted and disturbed that it came to that. Something like that does no good. And all that does is it splits people. It has neighbors trying to tell on people, which again, would that hold up in court? Most likely not. I'm asking for it to be retracted as soon as possible. We need to be sticking together as Ohioans, and I'm not seeing that. And right now we have a governor that is doing a lot of things that are very unconstitutional, and actually there's a lot of lawsuits that are currently pending against him. So I would like to start to see mayors start to stand up for freedom, for the Constitution, and this definitely does not do that. So I am asking for that ordinance to be publicly retracted. Thank you.
in regards to the mandate that we cannot have gatherings in our own private homes of more than 10 people. I don't believe that the Constitution of this country gives you the authority. You have no war powers rights. You can't declare that. You have stepped into our private lives, into our homes, violation of our freedom of our constitutional freedoms, big time. I do believe that if somebody were to show up at my house because I'm having family members over for a holiday meal, I would sue you in a federal court, and I would walk out because you violated the Constitution, and then I would turn and sue the city for as much money as we possibly get legally out of the city, and that was millions and millions of dollars for violation of federal rights. Goodbye.
Yes, my name is Cindy Brode. My address is 72 Greencrest Terrace. I was calling about the mayor's new ordinance that City Council also enacted about the 6 members at a personal home / residence. I would really like you guys to reconsider this ordinance, especially when it is being advertised with having your neighbors tell on each other for a $250 penalty. We do have neighbors in our neighborhood that like to call on every little thing around the neighborhood and stir the pot and cause trouble. It will enable people like this to become unpredictable, unruly, which is a serious, serious issue. I understand COVID is serious. I respect you guys for trying to take action. However, I do not agree with this at all. It is excessive. It is not necessary, and there are better ways to help control the spread, period. If people were honest about where COVID is coming from, where it is being spread, and the numbers were accurately reported, it would be a different scenario. Thank you for your time.
Hi, this is for Mayor Horrigan, and I am a law-abiding citizen, and I just think you guys are pushing it a little bit too far with this mandate for 6 people for Thanksgiving, and I really don't appreciate it since we pay our taxes and we own our home, and I get all the COVID stuff, and we do what we're told to a point. But when you want to come in our home and give us a fine, who's the fine going to? What's the $250 going to? You guys need money? Do you need more money? I don't understand. You can tell us what you think we should do, but it should be our right to be cautious on our own. You guys don't have a right to come into our home and tell us who can be in it. I'm sorry. Yes, I'm sorry for all the people that may have. I want to see the numbers. Can you show me the numbers? Can you email me that? The numbers on the actual numbers of who is sick so I can actually figure it out myself? Because I don't hear anybody talking numbers yet. Thank you so much for your time, and if you could get that to me right away, that would be awesome. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Yes, how you doing? I'm calling about the ordinance law passed about the Thanksgiving guest, no more than, I think it was 6. It violates the Constitution. Fourth Amendment. It violates the Constitution. The Fourth Amendment. So I hope no police officers abide to this law because it violates the Constitution. That's all I have to say. I appreciate it. Thank you.
What is the problem? We are in Akron, Ohio. We have not had a hurricane. We have not had a tornado.
Okay. Ohio Edison, finally, are we in Miami? Finally got the power back on. Was back on for like 13 hours. Guess what? Off again. The reason I'm not using profanity is so this actually gets through to your guys' board, because I really want to. What is the problem? Who do I talk to? Doesn't matter who I call. Everyone's like, well, blah, blah, blah. There was no 9/11, no planes crash in a building, there was no terrorist attack. Right? Akron, Ohio. We're like 60 miles from the Great Lakes, for God's sake. And can't get it together. Why is that? Why don't we just leave the power off and we'll start living in our yards, right? We can gather firewood and just go back to that. What the hell is going on? My name is Matt Collins. My phone number is 330-328-3542. What is going on? Who is in control? Who is doing communications? Ohio Edison isn't very good at it. We found that. What is going on?
Hi, my name is Rochelle Dane. I live at 917 Woodward Avenue in Akron, Ohio. I'm calling about the 6-visitor limit that was placed into effect the other day. I watched the streaming of it, and I do want to say that even though it does not affect my Thanksgiving, because I'm only going to have 4 guests in my home, I feel as though, and I've given it some thought, and I understand. I'm not stupid. I understand the reasoning for this. However, I am an Akron taxpayer. How would you like it if I told you that I was not going to pay my city bill and that I was not going to pay my Akron taxes because I just didn't feel like it? And you wouldn't be given a chance to tell me why I should do it. Of course, I know why I should not do that. I'm not stupid. However, when I watched this meeting, 3 people voiced this opinion. And I felt as though, Mr. Horrigan, you know me, my kids babysat your kids, Elizabeth and Katie, when you were our councilman. My daughter and son-in-law taught your children at St. Sebastian. I walked past your daughter's house. Everybody knows where it's at, on Oakland. And it's a nice neighborhood. We're nice people. We know you from St. Anthony's. But I feel as though that you personally did not take any action in this meeting except be a yes man to Donna Skoda, Sample, Amobian, and Somerville. And it's very, very upsetting. How do you know that out of 6 guests in your home, that guest number 3, if you only have 3 people, it doesn't have COVID? It just doesn't make sense. Plus, as I said, you're infringing upon my freedoms. If I want to have 9 people in my house, just like the governor has said, under 10, then I should have that right. And don't tell me that you can go over the governor's head. Oh, maybe you can. Maybe you can. I'm not in government. I live in Akron. I am an Akron taxpayer. You have infringed upon the rights of every Akron citizen. And I guarantee you, no other community is going to follow suit. I can guarantee you that. And that's what I have to say.
Jody Grassgreen, 699 Weber Avenue, Akron, 44303. I'm from Preserve the Valley Citizens Action Group. Our petition to save Akron's last major green space, the Tice Road property, has now gathered 7,198 signatures from Akron, Northeast Ohio, and beyond. We know the Akron comments matter the most to council, so here are 10 more comments from Akron residents only. We do not need another upscale housing development. Please save our green space, Stephanie. We need to keep the trees and nature. There is no need for this allotment, Janice. This seems like such a reckless move. The Cuyahoga Valley is fragile enough that you would think a decision to destroy large swaths of land above it would be unthinkable. As a 25-year-old, I'm begging the city of Akron to not sell this land with the intent to develop it into a massive housing development full of impervious surfaces. I support the city of Akron selling this land to the Western Reserve Land Conservancy so that this gorgeous region and my future is preserved. The valley is such an absolute treasure for the surrounding communities. Let's keep it that way. Alexis, leave the McMansions in the suburbs. Let's preserve our environment rather than doing irreparable harm to it. Try refurbishing some of the thousands of derelict houses in town before building new ones. Aaron, we need the green space for environmental reasons, trees, habitat for animals as they travel, and not more expensive housing. Melissa, come on, what did David Attenborough teach you guys? Jen A. We have enough empty houses and apartments as it is. Celeste. Developers should be reclaiming the many already developed areas of Akron that are sitting vacant and stop destroying nature and the few remaining green spaces we have left in the city. Thomas. I grew up in this area, and it pains me to see the total disregard for the residents, wildlife, environment with all the development coming up. Jeanette. Akron must preserve one of the only things left that brings people here. It's nature. Taylor. Thank you for listening. Stay safe. Bye-bye.
Hello, my name's Judith Solomon. I live in Cuyahoga Falls near the valley, and I oppose the rezoning of Riverwoods. We don't need to plant houses where we have this beautiful land and forest and the gorgeous trees. We really need to preserve this. You can build houses somewhere else, but you don't need to build it in the Riverwoods property. And I hope you refrain from doing developments so quickly without any public opinions. Please help. Thank you.
My name is Bill Nesbitt, B-I-L-L, and Nesbitt, N-E-S-B-I-T-T, at the address 1155 Diagonal Road, Akron, 44307, the phone 330-379-2235. As I've asked before, in discussion with council people and our government officers, I ask that we delay the tentative moving of our Akron Bureau of Public Utilities from its present High Street location to the South Main Street location at the old Firestone factory. That's delayed at least today, and hopefully at least through while we're in this state of emergency as described by our council president, Margot Somerville. And also a situation of overwhelming handling for hospitals as described by our government and our medical leaders. For those who travel by city bus, the extended travel time exposure will cause the very possibility of medical risk. With, of course, with the coronavirus situation, we're looking at not only health but life potential threats. And as asked by Director Eileen Shapiro, we ask, since all citizens are asked to do every little thing possible to hold off travel and exposure and aid in the situation, I ask that we also do that in our government doing by at least not adding to the travel. As far as not having to travel, as in my discussions with your the office manager of the Akron Bureau of Public Utilities, Brian Reamer, indicating to me and thanking him for his discussion. Paying by phone is a possibility. As far as paying by phone, those that are without bank accounts cannot use that. As far as the travel or paying by mail and just simply getting extensions. First of all, the cost, those additional costs can be a factor for those with very limited financial means. And along with that, primarily is that, that even with agreement of paying at a certain time and giving extension on mailing time, oftentimes one is not to adhere to that, and having that availability of the same day payment makes all difference in maintaining service. Particularly,
This is Carol Coleman Crane with Team Towing and Service at 645 Carroll Street. In 2016, I met with the safety committee, John York and Sean Billers, and I asked them what I needed to do to be included in the APD towing district. They referred me to Mike Antonucci, which I had several meetings with. I was finally able to get everything that I needed done that was required by the safety committee and the planning department. I met with the safety department and let them know that everything was done, started attending city council meetings and asking to be included in the Akron Police Department towing districts. The division of the towing districts for the city of Akron is 1 and 2 is being serviced by Bowers, who was recently owned by Bob Bishop, who passed away, passed his business down to whomever is taking care of that now. Wards 3 and 5 being handled by Greg. My business is in Wards 5. Then there's 4, 5, 6, and 7 that are being serviced by other gentlemen, 1 each. This Wards 1 and 2 and Wards 3 and 5 is not fair. This is not a fair and equitable distribution of the city resources. I live in Akron. My employees live in Akron. Their children attend Akron Public Schools. Team produces a lot of tax revenue for the city of Akron. In this year of 2020, I never shut down. I never refused a call. Always made sure I had employees available. We service over 50% of AAA local residents. We service the United States Postal Service and Ohio State Highway Patrol. I also received 2 awards this year of 2020, one from the city of Akron and one from the state of Ohio. Several of you have reached out to me. Several of you have visited my shop, and many of you told me that you've utilized our road service, our emergency services. I want to thank you. Thank you for caring. Thank you for reaching out to me. Thank you for listening. I want to provide towing for Akron Police Department. I want to be given Ward 5, where my business is located. Please vote in favor of this. If you have any questions, you want to talk to me, I certainly would love to speak with you. 330-687-9181, or you can reach me via email. Thank you again for listening. Thank you for your consideration. And each of you have a blessed Thanksgiving, a safe and blessed Thanksgiving.
That's the end of the voicemails.
Thank you so much. That concludes our public comments for this evening. I want to thank each and every person who took the time to submit a public comment in writing or shared comments via the phone. At this time, we will now go into our committee assignments, rules. Councilman Freeman.
245.
Public Safety, Councilman Kamer.
215.
Budget and Finance, Councilman Freeman.
3 p.m.
Parks and Rec, Councilman Neal.
1:45.
Planning and Economic Development, Councilman Fusco.
1 o'clock.
Housing and Neighborhood Assistance, Councilman Fusco.
Subject to a call.
Public Service, Councilwoman Samples.
2 p.m.
Health and Social Services, Councilwoman Amobian.
2:30.
Public Utilities and Green Committee, Councilman Freeman.
It's 2:30 the normal time for that committee.
Yes, 2:30.
Yeah. If we could say 2:30 then, thank you.
Thank you so much. Is there anything else coming before council at this time? If so, you're more than welcome to use the raise hand function. Before we do adjourn, I do just want to make a comment. We have heard much conversations and concerns regarding our Akron towing districts, and do want to let you know that Akron City Council will be reviewing towing districts here in the city of Akron. So I'm going to ask if there's any council members who have any ideas, suggestions, inputs that you work through Councilman Kamer. Councilman Kamer is our chair of public safety. Councilman Kamer also represents council and has a seat on the Akron Towing Board. So please work through him, as he has already done some legwork. I know some other council members, Councilwoman Samples and Councilman Malik, have also too done some legwork as it relates to this issue. So just asking council members, please work through Chair Councilman Kamer as relates to reviewing our towing districts here in the city of Akron. Councilman Malik, I see your hand.
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to briefly, address the comments that came in about the gathering restrictions. Obviously, as we spoke to at length last week, it's a very difficult decision to make, but one predicated by the dangerousness of the situation. And today, we saw almost 12,000 new COVID cases reported in the state of Ohio. We have our hospitals that are almost completely full. We have a large amount of our hospital staff that are actually unable to go to work because of being exposed to COVID. And we had our hospital CEOs and our health director tell us that this was an essential step to take. And then finally, I specifically wanted to address the point about going into people's houses or peering in their windows. And that's obviously not what we're doing. We're not even encouraging neighbors to tell on other neighbors. Over the past week, not that many calls came in about this. And what we're trying to do is set an expectation for what's safe in this community and ultimately to save lives. And so I just wanted to respond to those comments about this ordinance.
Thank you so much, Councilman Malik. Are there any other comments or concerns coming before council at this time?
Motion to adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn. I do see Councilman Neal's hand and then Councilwoman Samples.
Just wanted to share, as we look at best practices, and we heard from a lot of our constituents today about the challenge of engaging us as council members and their voices being heard. Again, another best practice legislative tool that we've talked about going back 8, maybe 9 years now, is having our legislation online. When we went to this electronic legislative process, that was something that we were discussing. I think it's critical that we as council revisit that. It would be a tool that would help us as well as our constituents, because it had a 3-level tier: 1, where constituents could comment and we could see their comments; 2, those of us would be able to comment on the legislative process as legislators, and then it would be a room where just the law department would be able to address it. It's critical at this point in time, when our constituents have limited access to us, that we look at that best practice tool. We implemented one phase of it. It's critical that we go back and look at implementing the full phase. Also, want us to keep in mind what Mr. Nesbitt said. I think he raises some good points at this time when we're trying to limit people's exposure and access. And this goes back to understanding how to implement equitable policy. That change creates a hardship on those who do not have a car. It forces them to go further. Something I would not have thought about, because I'm blessed to have a car. I think we need to get with the administration and look at how we can provide support for those who are put in that hardship. Number 2, with this process, a lot of our constituents have not had an opportunity to engage us. Not all of them have internet. I think we need to look at setting up a free conference call line where residents could call in and listen to our council meetings. Unfortunately, we do not have a public access station that broadcasts our meetings. But again, with our constituents being cut off from us for the most part, we need to look at every way we can to engage them. And not everyone has internet access. It doesn't take anything for us to set up a free conference call line where they can listen in. I know during this COVID period, I've been listening to national calls from NAACP, Urban League. Wouldn't cost us any money. We could advertise the line and our citizens can listen in on our meetings. And then lastly, we all got a blanket email regarding 5G technology. That email raised some very important questions. I don't know if any of you have looked at the city's map for 5G in your particular wards and the impact that that can have on your residents specifically. If any of you know anybody with a pacemaker, they stay away from microwaves. The 5G technology there's a lot of concerns. I know I talked to a colleague in Youngstown, a councilman in Youngstown. They've even had residents that have asked for the smart water meters not to be installed because of how they impact. I think it would serve us well to set up a committee to hear the concerns that have come to us about 5G technology. Thank you for the opportunity to list those things. One last thing, Madam President. We know now that we're about 3 weeks out from when council will be over. It will do us well to look at council's budget to see how we can finance some of these things. So I've said it before, if legislation needs to come in, but if by next meeting, we can set a time when council will caucus to discuss the things that we said about the legislative process, the budget process, that would be good. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilman Neal. Councilwoman Samples?
Thank you, Madam President. Just briefly, I don't know if it's something the city can do or something that can be put on our council page as well, but I think putting the link to Summit County Public Health Department should be put up. Some of those comments that people said about where the numbers, they haven't seen the numbers. Well, the numbers have been on TV every day. So I don't know why people are saying they haven't seen the numbers. Just for here in Akron, since our last meeting when we voted on the legislation for no more than 6 people in the House, 2,600 people since last Monday's meeting have tested positive. In the state of Ohio, we have close to almost 400,000 people who've tested positive. You know, one thing that I have to steal from my favorite artist, Jay-Z, he said, men lie, women lie, the numbers don't lie. They need to look at the numbers. And that's the bottom line. Look at the numbers. Go on to Summit County Public Health Department, and it's a frightening story of what they're telling us is going on. And all of us know somebody or have experienced COVID. And it's nothing to play with. And if you have to tell your family not to come to your house for the next 23 days, then that's the little part that we can do. The Constitution does not say you have the right to kill me, my mother, or my neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilwoman Samples. We do have a motion for adjournment. I do see Councilman McKintrick's hand.
Motion to excuse Councilman Swirsky.
Thank you so much, Councilman McKintrick. We do have a motion to excuse Councilman Swirsky. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Malik. Thank you so much. If there's nothing else coming before council, we will adjourn and just ask that everyone have a happy and safe holiday.
This concludes the live broadcast of Akron City Council. Margot Somerville, President of Council, presiding.